Welcome to Dog Moms Do Business,
the podcast where two lifelong friends find sisterhood in business, life, and being crazy millennial dog moms. We're your hosts, Ellen Broen
and Jasmine Jonte. And today's episode is all about our must-have business tools and those you should absolutely run away from, avoid, don't pass go, do not collect $100, get out of there. Dumpster fire, ulcer creating softwares.
Yes, just that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I should say the minute that you proposed this episode, I fell off of the couch with groaning and moaning and please don't.
It's true.
But this is your superpower and there's a lot to be gained from having this conversation.
Yes.
And I am not one to cower from a tough conversation about tech.
It's just interesting because I think the people like you who are so tech averse, because you're not bad at it.
I'm not bad at it.
You just don't like it.
I don't like doing it.
Like, they're the people who would very much benefit from hearing this conversation because we could shortcut some things for them. So if that's you and you're listening, stay tuned, because I think if you can just make it through this 45-minute episode, you will save yourself hours of pain and struggle in the future. And if you're into tech like me, then let's hang out. And if you need extra help, just let me know. 'Cause this is definitely not all of the things that I know and love about tech, but some of them.
We wanted to throw in as much experience as we've gained because we have wasted some dollars on some tech that just did not work. And then we've found some holy grails that are totally worth shouting out. So we'll do our best to link the ones that we love in the description. But yeah, let's get into it.
I feel like I want to start with the idea of just like holistically looking at your tech stack.
And when you said tech stack, my brain froze and I left the room. So
think about your tech stack as like all of the things in your business that allow you to do business well online. It's like the technologies that support that. So what's interesting is if you look at some softwares, they actually have a lot of features so they can do a lot of things inside your business, right? It's so like Kajabi, for instance, is your website, it's your course creation area, it's your podcast. It like you can do a lot of things inside of one tech. And so if you look at holistically, what are all the things that your business needs to be able to do? And then what's the right combination so that you're not overpaying because you're paying for the same feature in multiple different places.
Right, where you could consolidate.
Exactly. So it's important to like look at all of the things your business needs before you just say, oh, I need this one thing, and then go and find the one thing that does that one thing, or find the one recommendation from the one person for to solve for that one feature, that one problem. And meanwhile, you could have gone with something else that solves more problems. So you got to kind of look at it big picture.
And you only get that from people who nerd out on tech, honestly. Right. Because I feel like I'll get a recommendation from somebody else like me who's like, oh, I use this thing to fix that problem. And then I'll plug a hole with my finger rather than look at the whole picture. So,
and that's why I always say, like, in the agency, we're platform agnostic. Like, I'm not beholden to one platform because I don't think there is one platform that's right for every business. And a big reason is like Kajabi's so overkill for a lot of people. Yeah. And there's others that are just, Kajabi is just perfect for them. So yeah.
Well, I feel like starting with project management kind of makes the most sense because all of us manage a lot of things. And I feel like this is kind of one of the first tech things that we will buy. It's like, oh, wow, I'm starting to need to delegate things to other people to manage their task lists, or, I have a big launch coming up, so I need to manage the moving pieces. So break down your current favorite and or past favorites that you've, maybe moved away from, but still have affinity for.
So when I was a solopreneur and then started adding, a couple people to help me. Because even as a solopreneur, like, you can do a lot with just Google Drive, your Google Calendar, and paper as a solopreneur. But even as a solopreneur, I started to get to a point where I was like, okay, I have this really long running list of tasks and it's no longer serving me. Like, it's too many things. And so my first choice was Trello.
Yeah.
Which I actually still really like Trello, and I kind of maximized Trello, I would say. I took a course called, I think Trello for Business, like something really basic, but it was a fast course. It really helped me learn how to like leverage some of the automations and some of the more advanced features that they have, which was great for working with my team. We just kind of outgrew it because I didn't have like the level of accountability that I wanted. And I didn't have the level
from the software to you.
Yeah. And I didn't have the level of visibility, because the more moving parts, the more visible it needs to be, or else you can be off track and not even know it for like months.
Right.
Which is probably really weird for some people to hear, but like when you run an agency and we're producing, dozens and dozens of lessons with deliverables every single week, like, yeah.
And I mean, for anybody, like, I feel like you do need to see what you're missing. And Asana, I feel like, is pretty good with that. I know that was kind of where you started back in the day.
That was like first I did Trello, and then I did Asana, and I think Asana had a dashboard. And so like that was helpful, but I really didn't feel like too much difference between Trello and Asana. But I do think it's really good for people who have like teams of 2 or 3.
That's what I use. I've tried a Trello. I didn't love it. I switched to Asana, and it had the clearer red label of like, this hasn't been done. This is late. I was able to read Asana and manage it much better than Trello for whatever reason, which is the reverse of the opinions that I received. I heard that like Trello is much more visual, and like, it does have a dashboard, but it's not, you can't see as much in the dashboard.
And it just depends how you like to view things. Like I haven't been in Trello for a while, but I remember it was mainly based on cards. So, like having cards and moving cards between different statuses and whatnot. But what I liked about Asana is you had the list view that was really easy to see. You had the calendar view. You had some different views available, and you could also kind of, like you said, see more easily what's due, what's not due, and then it's easier to toggle between projects or between lists. I felt
and create repeating tasks or individual things. Like I just found it pretty just intuitive and basic, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
But yeah, Monday is also a favorite of Matt's. He uses Monday.com. He manages a team of, I don't even know, like dozens and dozens. They love Monday. I've never used it. Can't speak to it, but he loves it. So I threw it
Hard
in
no.
here. Okay. What do you hate about it?
Hard no. I've only done very little with it. And I think it's kind of just, some people like certain kind of interfaces. And I just remember getting in Monday and being like, this is ugly and clunky and overwhelming. And like, I love tech, so I didn't love it. But this was also like 2018. So it could look completely different now.
Yeah, fair.
We are in ClickUp.
You are a raving fan of ClickUp. You have been trying to get me on the ClickUp train for a long time.
Actually, I don't know about you on ClickUp, because ClickUp is, there are so many buttons that you can push. There's so much functionality. There's so many features. And we're not even on the business. We're on like the $5 per person per month plan. They have a sale right now on the business plan. It's 20% off, and I really want to buy it, but we don't need it, but I really want to buy it.
You sound like a woman who's like found a sale at her favorite like clothing shop, and she's like, I just need another shirt, but I don't need another shirt.
That's how I feel about ClickUp. You
can't relate.
ClickUp,
cannot relate.
But like as an agency, just being able to, like, if you think about a course, right, that has 25 lessons, and that means it has 25 lines, and then there's 25 deliverables, because there's a deliverable for each of those, which means now we're at 50 lines, and each of those is synced to a Canva link, because they're their own deliverables, and it's also synced to a reviews and revisions portal link, because they all have to be reviewed independently with the client. And there's 4 people who at any given time could be touching that one deliverable, and that's just one course, and we have like 15 of those in our. So even just like the client fulfillment side of ClickUp like is worth it. I mean, the rest of my business, like I don't do my sales in there. I don't do like my opportunities pipeline or anything like that. I have our team training, and I have certain things in there, but just purely even just the client fulfillment space of the business, everything runs through there, and it's all based on automations. So as soon as, Courtney is done writing the lesson, she hits one button and it assigns KM, who's the graphic designer. It gives her a new deadline. It links it up. And then, the same thing with our reviews and revisions from our clients. So if you're a client and you review it and you're like, okay, I want these 2 changes. As soon as you hit, needs changes in the review portal, it automatically syncs to ClickUp, and then it tags Courtney and KM and gives them a new deadline.
I mean, everything you're saying, first of all, it goes halfway over my head. But Asana, in my experience, like I used Asana all of last year when I was redoing my YouTube, and I had a team of like an editor and a content strategist and my assistant. And in a similar vein, I would start a new project for a YouTube video, which would start a whole new, it would had a template, and it would tag certain people at certain phases. So once something had been finished, it would tag somebody else. Granted, my assistant set it up, so I couldn't tell you how, but I know it exists inside of Asana, but it's probably less beautiful and seamless as ClickUp. And it's probably like they copied ClickUp or something and have some sort of knockoff of that.
I would say it's very similar. Asana is just simplified.
Right.
Like which there's just less fields, there's less things to customize. Like ClickUp, you can really truly super custom it to what your business needs. So if you have a more complex business, totally recommend ClickUp.
If you're simple like me, a simple folk like me,
then we'd go Asana.
And then, Google Calendar, I feel like deserves a shout out. Like literally today. So I'm back to solopreneur status. I don't even have an assistant currently. And right now I manage my time by making a list on paper and then time blocking on my Google Calendar, and works well.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of my I have a paper desktop calendar for the week, and a lot of mine are like, if it's a thing I must do, it has to be on my calendar. So on my Google Calendar, I have like a calls and meetings calendar, I have a tasks calendar, and I have a personal calendar. So I can look and see color coordinated how much time I'm spending on my personal, how much time I'm doing tasks, and how much time I'm on calls, which is green. And my whole fucking week is green a lot of the time. But but it's also good for my assistant, because then she can be like, too much green, pull back the phone calls.
Nice.
So,
and then note taking. I mean, again, kind of on the Google train.
Google all the way.
Freaking love Google Drive. That is where my whole life is. And, I've dabbled with other ones in the past. For a while there, for any coaches listening, I used Coach Accountable, which was it's very coach specific. Like it's basically a client facing portal, that had billing, scheduling, note-taking. It had like journal entries and tool resource sharing and all sorts of stuff that was honestly really pretty great. But their pricing structure, like once you get, like I had, 19 clients at one point, 20 clients at one point, and I was paying over $100 a month for just, the same features and the same stuff. This is one thing, a gripe that I have with, same thing, I'm getting ahead of myself, but with ConvertKit and other like CRMs is like the more people you use in it, like
I don't like that pricing model at all.
That.
They're like, it's like they are
it's discouraging you from growing your business.
Yes.
Which is fucking dumb.
Like that model. And so how this Coach Accountable works is that the more clients you have,
the more you pay.
The more you're paying. Now you're paying less per client, but it's still going up.
You're still just paying a lot for the same exact service.
Yeah.
And so, I switched over at some, when I had like 5 clients and under, and it's $40 a month, fine. Okay, sure. But if you're in the 10 to 20 range, it's just too much for what you get out of it. And my clients didn't use like the cool features to it, like they had project tracking, like, if I assign assignments and stuff, like practices to do after our sessions, there was like a follow-up tool to be like, hey, did you complete the thing? And like there was accountability built into it, which in theory was cool, but a lot of my clients didn't give a shit about that. Like they were like, no, I don't really want extra reminders. I have my own systems. So like getting extra texts and extra emails from them, from, the Coach Accountable stuff was not that effective. Otherwise, I was just taking notes and sending extra resources, which I can do through Google. So like, once it got, untenable with over $100 a month for something that I could get, invoicing and scheduling outside of it. I left it behind. But for note taking, Google Drive is my ride or die.
Is
I have this kind of like curiosity though about Notion. I hear it's the thing for creatives, and it like gives you so many ways to take notes that are visual and you can organize it. Like it's kind of morphable.
Yes. I think I've been in some people's Notion and people who do his business via Notion. And what I like is it's kind of like Google Drive, but gives you a table of contents.
Yeah.
Like that's how I would describe it.
And you can like do like whiteboards and like all sorts of different kinds of
So
note-taking.
there's not so much like, I find with Google Drive, it's a lot of red click time, meaning like I'm trying to find the thing that I need to use to actually do the work.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the more organized you are, the less that happens. But even me, like in you, like we're pretty organized, but there's still like you got to go into folders and to find the thing.
The search bar is my favorite.
Yeah, but that search bar in Google Drive, it is not great.
It's
like
not
let's
great.
be real, it's not great. So I think that's a piece of it. I will say Danco, and that's DANKOE, is coming out with, I don't want to say a Notion competitor, but it's specifically for creatives to organize their thoughts. And he's like,
what's it called?
I can't remember the name of it. It's like, I don't even know if it's out yet. It's still on like with his beta testers. Like it's a brand new software that's about to come out. But it's supposed to be, here it is. Cortex, build your second brain, 10x your creativity, productivity, and profitability. And all he does is help people learn how to, become online content creators, like this content creation space. So I would keep an eye out for that because this
Cortex with a K.
Cortex with a K, it's a new knowledge management system. And I have a friend who's in the beta group and she's like, it's fucking bomb-tastic.
Is she a tech gal or not tech gal?
I would say she's not a tech gal, but she is a big Instagrammer in the human design space.
Okay.
So I think that's something to keep your eye on. And then my other shout out is something called Workflowy, like workflow with a Y at the end, which is very similar, but it's just words. But it's got this kind of like drop down feature. Anyway, very simple, very easy to use. I built my first courses using Workflowy.
Oh, okay.
So if you're looking, but it's purely note taking.
Okay.
It was like just notes, just creative.
Okay.
So that's it. Now you can link out. So like, let's say you write a YouTube script or something, and then you want to link it to your project management tool. You can do that. You can grab a link, but
I see. So like in the same way that Google Drive,
Exactly.
You can share a link to the document.
Exactly.
Is it editable in real time or is it like a hard copy? Like
I think it's editable. In real time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what had you do Workflowy rather than Google Drive?
For me, it was because like when I was writing courses, I wanted to be able to go back. Let's say I'm writing lesson 3 and I wanted to build on something I said in lesson 1. I wanted lesson 1 to be right there. And if it's in different documents, you can't do that. Now, right now, but I've thought about it for our business because my girls are going through the same thing. Where, lesson 1 is in one doc, lesson 3 is in a different doc. They got to open another doc to get to
See, I'm a one doc gal. Like I've started trying to separate the documents because there's just times where it gets heinous where like I just have like 1,000 different documents in one document just because that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to try like in my content management stuff that I'm really reorganizing my Google Drive right now. And I'm trying to separate the documents. For example, I just started writing a book and I have the book outline separate from the manuscript, separate from, like story writing notes, just like how to build a character arc or whatever. And normally I would just have like literally everything all in the same document. So I think there's, but I'm not going to separate chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4.
Yeah.
Like I want it all to flow in one document. So my manuscript is one.
Yeah. And if I didn't have to send it in for revisions to clients and keep them on track,
you would just keep it all in one.
We might do the same thing because my workflow, it used to be one course was in all of one doc. But
interesting. So any note taking that you're like absolutely stay the hell away from?
No.
I know some people are big into the Notes app stuff where they like do the Google, they use the Gmail notes on iPhone rather than the local to your phone notes.
like Apple Notes.
Yeah. So it's on Apple Notes. And I think there's also a journal app that just came out that's also available on any Apple device. So like you can write a journal entry to yourself, and it has a different interface than the Notes app, but it's basically the same thing. And some people love that shit.
Hey, more power to you.
I've got a lot of notes, I will say. I'm a sticky note gal and a Notes app gal, where if I just have a brain fart of an idea and I'm out in the world, that's where they go.
Yep. So. Same. I mean, I would say same. I will say Brad, though, if he has one of those, he adds it to his calendar as a task, like as an event, because then he'll go back to when the time is, he'll have the time to go back to it. It reminds him, oh, this was the idea. This was
Speaking of which, do you ever use the task manager on Google Calendar versus just, I tried that, but like it's not very visual. Like I can't see them.
Yeah, no, they disappear.
Because it's nice that there's a check mark that you can like check once it's done, but I like having the time block, and it's unfortunate that you can't have the time block for those. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. On to creative.
Yeah. So this is all encompassing of, video editing, graphics, photo editing, even if there's any recommendations. So kick us off.
Okay. So in the graphics world, since we live there a lot, we love Canva.
Oh God, I love Canva.
We love Canva.
I pay for the whatever upgraded kind, because you must. Like
I pay for my whole team to have the upgraded. Yeah, my Canva bill is a big Canva bill. And sometimes people are like, can you please just do it in Google Drive? Can you please just do it in PowerPoint? And it's one of those things now, Canva, you can export to PowerPoint. Yeah. It doesn't always transfer over perfectly, but it'll work. And it's just, you have so much more design functionality. You have so much more
templates. And
there's just so much more we can do with it. And then just having the stock imagery right there. Amazing. So definitely loving Canva.
And great for, thumbnails, or even their AI editing is pretty good now for, even if like you want to edit a photo for Instagram or something, like you can go in there and, type into their beta search thing, like you do, I forget what it's called. It's like some sort of
Magic
one. Yeah, it's Magic Write. And you upload the photo, you put it on the design, and then you can type in an instruction to the AI, like remove green background and replace with purple. And for the most part, I mean, it has some kinks, but for the most part, it can do basic things.
Or like do a picture of a panda bear riding a surfboard with seaweed animated as, you know what I mean? Like,
what's in your head?
I don't know.
This is a great image.
But like that can happen,
Yeah, it's true.
On surfing on yellow waves.
I have not tried that. I've just tried the video or the photo editing.
They've got tons of stuff. And I think like the thing with all tech is how much time are you going to put into really optimizing it, maximizing it, learning it? And for some things, you just have to do enough to like get by. Like just know enough to know what you need to know. But then there's others where if you actually take the time to like do the masterclass that the tech software is like giving you the opportunity to do, or like attend, like actually reading the updates emails.
Oh my God.
Wow.
You do not do that.
I do. Oh. But not for all of them, just for like a select few that I know. Like if we maximize our use out of these things, it's going to help us get more done in less time.
So what are the ones in your business? We might be getting ahead, but like what are the ones that you read the emails no matter what?
I read ClickUp.
Yeah.
Updates. I do. Like, oh man, they just did this whole new dashboards. Like roll out. Whew.
It's getting hot in here, folks.
Getting hot in here. Why am I not a ClickUp affiliate?
Seriously.
I'm going to. We're going to be a ClickUp affiliate, and I'm going to put it in the show notes just for you, dear listener. So ClickUp, and then probably Canva.
Yeah.
Canva for sure. And I think it's because I have designers on the team. And really what I should do is just be like, I'm going to pay you to look at all the updates all the time. But I look at them as well. It's so handy. And then also Page Proof, which is another recommendation I have in the creative space. So.
Okay. Well, want to tell us what that is?
Yeah. So Page Proof is, it was mainly, I think, built for like legal documents so that reviews and approvals could happen in an approval portal and not on the document itself. So like, let's say you're my lawyer and you send me an employee contract, and now I'm like reviewing it in Google Drive. and I do a comment or I do suggestions or something like that. And I send it back to you, and then you do it and you send it back to me. And then we're like on like version 2 or version 3, and we can't remember what was done, what wasn't done. We can't tell the story of how the document came to be. Also, let's say as a lawyer, one thing is like, I only get 2 revisions with you. Like, I don't have unlimited revisions on this document. Well, what does that mean? Like, when is a revision done versus not? And like having accountability and transparency related to that. So for multiple of these reasons, we had the same issue happening with our client work, where like the revisions would just go on forever, and people would like half review something, but not really review it because they thought they had more time, right? And so what PageProof is it allows us to put in a link to a slide deck in Canva, to a video script in Google Drive, to like anything we want to review. And then the client goes and reviews it in PageProof.
Okay.
So they'll be seeing the Canva slide deck, but they'll be able to add a comment in using PageProof. They have this like little red pen feature, and they circle the photo, and they're like, change the photo. And then once they're done, at the bottom, there's a big button, and it says, approved with changes, or needs revisions. And then it gets kicked back to us in our system. And now we know, okay, that's their first revision.
That's one review.
And we have access to see the version history of it. So if you're in any kind of like branding creative
That's
space,
so much better than having them giving them access to the original. Because I feel like that could lead to so many headaches.
Well, because then they go in and they like change words, and then the formatting's wrong. And then we have to go in, and it's like a whole nightmare. The other thing is PageProof will give them nudges and bumps. So it's like, okay, I'm giving it to you on Tuesday. I need it back by next Tuesday. And if they don't get it back, well, guess what? You're locked out and you don't get revisions. Because like, we gave you a week. That's in our contract. That's what we both agreed to. That was our agreement.
That's clutch.
Yeah.
When did you discover that?
The new year. So this has been a problem for us for like over a year. And I searched and searched and searched for the tool, and I could not find the tool. And I think it's mainly because like I didn't know what to search for, because our agency
like,
is so...
What is the search word for that?
Our agency is so weird. And I tried out, I just don't even know how many tech platforms to find this, especially one that integrated with Canva and that integrated with Google Drive. Like those were really hard to find both.
Interesting.
And it is like changed our business.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Yay.
Yay.
Shout out PageProof.
PageProof.
And then for my recommendations, I feel like these are fairly basic, but I managed my social media back when I was posting pretty regularly and planning content well in advance. Airtable was my ride or die. Like it was very helpful to plan out, if we were launching a video, when to plan out a story and an Instagram post and the community post in YouTube and the shorts on TikTok and the main video on YouTube, like all of the kind of segments of posting, I would manage on Airtable. Now I'm a little bit more fly by the seat of my pants kind of style right now, but I still have my subscription to Airtable because I think it's really like once I have that need, it's plug and play. And
I've done course outlines in Airtable, and I've used Airtable for testimonials. There's also a really good, like if you want to have a testimonial gallery and just like catalog.
Interesting. What do you mean?
Yeah. So because in Airtable you can do a form. And so once you submit the form, when someone submits the form, it shows up as a row in Airtable, and then you just have everybody gets that same form. It's kind of like Google Forms. And then, once you're done with the Google form, you can hit the little spreadsheet button and it'll pop out as a spreadsheet.
Right.
But it's just easier to see in Airtable.
Okay. So you keep your testimonial forms in there?
I have in the past. Right now we're in a bit of transition, but yeah, it worked for a really long time. It's
cool.
still,
and then
still
it's probably
now,
easy
to
then schedule to the content stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then ChatGPT. I have to give a shout out to them because it just really helps me with, in general, I do stages of research for various things. Like if I can't remember something that I heard in a podcast that like a podcast I listened to shouted out a sponsor that was like, oh, I really could use that, and I can't remember it, I will go to ChatGPT to remember everything that my mom brain cannot remember. But also it's great for content brainstorming, and just like we've used it several times for, show notes for podcasts to help us kind of start from an outline or start from a place, and then we can customize it ourselves. So super useful.
It's also very good for titling things. I've found. Like if we're stumped on a lesson title or something, it's really good for that. But you know, ChatGPT is only as good as you are at prompt engineering, and it's only as good as what you give it in the beginning of the chat. Meaning, like, if we were to go in and like you mentioned, we do some of our show notes through there. Like, I train ChatGPT on what our podcast is, who we are, who our ideal listener is. Like, I spent a long time training that damn chat to know how to speak to the ideal listener. So, you know, everybody's like, it's only as good as you are a prompt engineer.
Yes,
basically,
very true.
is all I'll say.
Any that you avoid?
Yes, the one I would avoid, speaking of AI, is something called Beautiful.ai, which is a automated slide deck generator. And here's the thing, is like, it will work. Okay. It is basic. Okay. So just like if you go into ChatGPT and you're like, give me a course outline for how to make $1 million online, like it will show, even if you're more specific, like how to have $100,000 on YouTube about within the health niche or whatever, like it'll come up with stuff. But it's just going to be really super kind of generic. And it's very similar with Beautiful AI. Like all of the graphic design is very, very generic. So
this is like in contrast to Canva that has all the bells and whistles.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it'll come out fast and it'll be done quickly. And so I know a lot of people who've had a lot of success doing like their pitch deck through there because they don't really care about the design. Like they just want the stats up and whatever, and the photos and whatever. They want it so cohesive. Cool.
But they have some pretty easy templates to plug and play in Canva.
But like, it's like even faster because you don't have to go in and type. You don't have to find the pictures. You don't have to type in the words. Like it just generates all of it.
Oh, interesting.
So anyway, as of now, I'm not a fan. I hope that it gets better. That would be cool. But for now, it's not great.
Hard pass. How about the CRM? Dun, dun, dun.
Why don't you tell us about your CRM to avoid first? Because I feel like we're stronger about what not to do than what to do here.
Yeah. So CRMs, for those that don't know, is the client relationship manager. Is that what
customer relationship manager? Either one,
something like that. And that's generally how we use it as an email. Thing is like how you manage your email marketing, and you can do other things through it. That's generally what I use the CRM for. So with that said, I have tried a whole bunch of them. I've done. I started with MailChimp, as most people do, and then I went into what's the one that starts with an A. Oh gosh.
Active Campaign.
I
cannot believe you did Active.
I did it for 5.5 seconds and I was like, oh, fuck no. Because somebody I knew recommended it and they're like, oh my God, my life's changed. I went in for like 5 seconds. I think I did a free trial or something. It wasn't crazy, but I uploaded all my contacts and I tried to do email for a hot second in there and I hated it. And then I landed in ConvertKit, I think from your recommendation many, many years ago. Somebody I knew, love, and trusted said ConvertKit's the thing. And, you know, it has, to its credit, it has a fairly simple, but also like if you maximize, you know, if you really, really understand all the features, you can get some really cool, I don't know, like tech behind your newsletters and stuff. But it, for me, has been ridiculously glitchy. It's one of those things that you pay more for the bigger list that you have, which has pissed me off because the glitch and that feature seem to go hand in hand. So I signed up for ConvertKit. I had, I don't know, a few thousand subscribers to my newsletter. Within, I'd say, a few months, all these bots started signing up for my my newsletter and were like becoming new subscribers. And all of a sudden I went from, you know, the range that they have of like 2,000 to 4,000 subscribers is this much. Then all of a sudden I was in a totally new range with only because of bots. And I was like, let me put the 2 plus 2 together here and figure this out. Because obviously, like, I don't know what it is, if it's an insecure site. I don't know. Like, this is all allegedly, don't come after me, ConvertKit. But I mean, my best hunch is that I signed up for ConvertKit. Something was insecure in the transfer of all of my information, and bots just started signing up like crazy. And I'm like, I had to go. It took weeks and weeks and weeks to go weed out all of just the bots who signed up for my newsletter. So, and it was all driving up the cost of my ConvertKit. So it was just a headache and a half, and I hate it.
Yeah. I mean, ConvertKit, the user interface is fairly simple. It does have like that kind of medium level of, like you were saying, medium level of features. Like there are some cool things you can do with it, but it's not super duper, Infusionsoft or Keep kind of level of advanced. I don't love it. Yeah. I've always done I've either been on MailChimp or Kajabi. Those are the only two places I've ever done email. Except for working on other people's projects. And I've done ActiveCampaign, I've done ConvertKit, I've done, So I think, I personally use something called PandaDash, which is a white label of Go High Level. So Go High Level is it's a CRM, and they do not just the email service provider element, but they also have websites, sales pipelines, they do text messages, like all kinds of stuff in there. It's very like a kind of all-in-one comprehensive solution. It's kind of like a ClickFunnels competitor, if you know ClickFunnels, but just a little more, I'd say, like robust on like the whole business system rather than just the funnel. And Brad has a white label of it called PandaDash that he sells on Lifetime. So you buy it once and you get to use it for your life.
How much is it up front?
I think it's $11.11. Right now.
Okay.
And yeah,
so you don't have the stupid, however many subscribers you have.
No, that's not
whatever.
like, I think that model, if it hasn't been phased out most places, like I can see it phasing out, and I see more and more people doing lifetime deals, especially if they're kind of newer and to get up and off the ground, like makes a lot of sense. Right. Yeah. So, and then I've had great success with Kajabi too, and sending emails on Kajabi, but to your point, like there is this kind of umbrella term of like CRM, and then there's, ESP, email service provider, under that. And there's like a lot of different things underneath that. And if you have something specific like an ESP, you have to make sure that talks to anything else it needs to talk to through integrations, which is where Zapier comes in.
So tell us about Zapier.
I mean, Zapier basically just connects two things.
It's incredible. Like once you introduced it to me, I was like, oh, like these things can talk to each other.
Yes, exactly.
So basically, if you want to, I don't know, set up an invoice that's connected to a contract that's in two separate places. Say they're not in one place. You can set up like what's it called when something pings to the next thing?
A zap.
Yeah, a zap. So, once you send out this email and the contract is filled out, once that, you get notification back, let's say you're using like DocuSign or something. And once the DocuSign is completed, then it pings or zaps to, your invoicing, and your invoicing will automatically send out the next thing to them. Yeah. And it zaps like a million different kinds of softwares together, which is really cool.
So like when I do contract and invoice through Dubsado, which we'll get to. And once someone signs their contract, they automatically get a folder with their name added to our Google Drive. They automatically get added to our Kajabi. A Slack channel is created.
Damn, girl.
And I think there's one other thing that I'm forgetting, but like there's a bunch of things that happen.
Probably something in your ClickUp.
It's my ClickUp. Yep. I get a folder created in ClickUp that's a folder that's a template. So it's a templatized folder that's developed.
That's pretty sexy, I have to say.
It's very sexy. And it could be sexier. There's things I could do. But all that to say is that wouldn't be possible without Zapier. So
that's a great hack.
It's a good hack. Okay, moving right along to our we have a lot of tech here.
Yeah. Online business.
General online business stuff. I feel like that's a good umbrella term.
So I know you like Slack.
Yes.
I like Discord. They're the same thing.
Telegram is basically the same thing too.
It's basically team communication, and you can have separate channels to talk about different things, so it stays organized. You can tag people, you can upload files if you want.
And you can integrate with it. Like Slack has a lot of integration. So like if I do a /task, I can create a task in ClickUp through Slack.
Oh, that's fancy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Discord I preferred. I tried Slack a few years ago, didn't love it, and then I just fell into Discord. I think it's very similar, but like
it's basically exactly the same thing.
I just, for whatever reason, the interface of Discord made a little bit more sense to me than Slack, and my people liked it better. So same thing on Discord, but I love that.
And Telegram is pretty much the same thing too, but it's free. So, I mean, depending on how big, like we're all on Slack. Everybody knows Slack now. Everybody trusts Slack. Everybody likes Slack on my team. So I'm very hesitant to like migrate to save a $500 bill every year. But, when we grow to the point where I'm like, okay, now this $500 bill is like a $3,000 bill, we might be all moving to Telegram.
Fair.
So that's team communication.
And also, you know, in terms of video communication, Zoom and Loom are the shit. I do all of my coaching sessions through Zoom, all of our meetings through Zoom. Absolutely hate Google Meet, and damn Google Calendar for everything that they like automatically assign a Google Meet. If you don't X out of the Google Meet and it assigns some Google
setting.
Meet thing. I know I've changed it several times, but for whatever reason, sometimes it like defaults to assign a link rather than my Zoom thing. But Google Meet, yuck
on the Google Meet. Like one of my girls still does meetings in Google Meet, like with me, and I'm just like, okay. It's okay. I can do one meeting. Like 2 meetings a month in Google Meet. Like I will not die.
Such a missed opportunity with Skype. Like it's so sad that Skype died in the pandemic because, you know, they just didn't get their shit together like Zoom did.
Bummer. But Loom, oh my gosh.
You were the one that introduced me to Loom.
Like I want to look up how many freaking Loom videos I have. Loom is great because it has the extension, the Chrome extension. I have 1,962 Loom videos.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like when I tell people like I run my business on Loom, they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like,
moments before we started recording, she made like a 3-minute Loom talking about something that we're going to do for our podcast, like promotional materials, like making our, you know, Instagram stuff. And she just like all of a sudden popped on Loom and started being like, hey, this is the thing that we're doing and we want to change it to this, and please do it to this and send it to me by this, and the end. I mean, like, oh my God.
It's basically just like screen sharing, you know, but I'm a little bubble in the corner. I mean, I send it to clients, I send it to team, I send it to prospects, I send it to my brother. Like literally I Loom all day,
every day,
all the time. Yeah. And then someone on my team comes in and organizes my Loom twice a month. And I have a nomenclature. This is key. If you are you're doing a lot of Loom, you want to have naming conventions. Yes. I can't even tell you. What I mean by that is like, okay, so like let's say you Loomed your clients. Okay. So at the front of the Loom, you would do their name in brackets.
Sure.
And so then anytime you had to find a video that you sent for them, like, they're like,
searchable.
where it becomes searchable. Because if you don't do that, it just like, is this?
That's how I am with like, I think I've Loomed a few times, maybe a dozen times in the entire course of my business. And it's always just the most random title of all time.
Like you have to get, and the same thing. Oh my God, this is a big Zoom. This is such an exciting episode. Okay.
I'm like falling asleep over here from exhaustion and you're like getting like so jazzed right now.
So with Zoom, you know how if you open your personal meeting room, it just says like Ellen's personal meeting room at the top. And then if you go back into the recordings, it just says Ellen's personal meeting room. You don't. So when you first open up the Zoom, if you go into the upper left-hand corner, there's a little button. And if you hit it, it's a title, and you can retitle it from inside the video as you're doing it.
Oh, okay.
So it is like a major hack, because I used to have someone on my team go back through and align it with my calendar and look at like what was this that she was doing at this time, because we have to save all the recordings because we need all the client recordings. And so that's super helpful. And then the other thing is Fathom. Fathom. It's an AI, and it will record all of your Zooms. It doesn't take storage. It will transcribe all of them. It will summarize all of them. And it's like when I log into Fathom, it's just literally all my Zoom recordings.
Oh, that's a hack, because Zoom recently started
all that
down
storage shit. Yeah, no, it's records it all, but it doesn't record it in the Zoom backend. It records it in the Fathom backend, and it naturally integrates with Zoom. And you can just go in and like
how much is Fathom?
Free.
No way.
Yes.
So they have hacked the Zoom charge for storing your stuff. Interesting. Okay, that's good to know.
Anyway.
Cool.
Video.
Now let's talk about websites, because I have a bone to pick with websites for a hot minute. I will keep my soapbox very small.
Tell us.
So I have built websites on, Wix, the kind of standard what's that one that
Squarespace,
Wix, all the kind of things. I think Wix was my
that was your original
tried and true for a while. And then I hired, web designers to go and build me a custom website, and I loved it and it was great. And they built it on WordPress, which I didn't know meant anything other than like, I know that WordPress is kind of the more wild west of, making a website. They have to code everything.
It's very customizable,
customized and kind of tech, super tech. I did not realize, at the time what Elementor was. I didn't know what any of these kind of plugins and things that they use to make it easier to build the website. They have more user-friendly interface and you can use them inside of WordPress, but ultimately they are a separate plugin. So what I did not know is that my website built on WordPress was built on Elementor within WordPress, and Elementor is another company that wants to upgrade and charge you for using. And so I, number one, I've been hacked 3 times on my website because of the WordPress insecurity. Like they just have no security. If you're on a Wix or what, even Kajabi or whatever, if you build a website on some of these major platforms, they have malware protection like up the wazoo, so you don't get hacked. And I never got hacked when I was on Wix, but I've gotten hacked 3 times on my website on WordPress, and it's been a nightmare. They have to like restore the whole website, rebuild a bunch of things. It's just like hectic. And then my email is connected to my website, and so my email starts not being able to give and receive emails because my website is connected to malware, and then it gets blacklisted on a bunch of websites. So like Google rejects any emails coming in and out. I can't email anybody because ellenbrowen.com is like bad, whatever. So it's a headache. And then the Elementor went out of date this year, and, I got a message from my server and my designer. I was pinging them like, what's going on with my website? It's like weird. And they said, oh, well, you need to pay for the upgrade in Elementor, and then we need to rebuild the website to format the new Elementor upgrade so that because it's not going to be like press a button and it upgrades. Like you have to reformat everything to fit the new upgraded Elementor. And we were looking at thousands of dollars to like do that. And so I just went in there and like put on like, a beekeeper suit and like went into the code myself and did my dead level best to work around the old outdated Elementor, update some of my copy. Like I'm still dealing with the fact that my WordPress thing is insecure, and I'll eventually need to move it to another platform to make it more secure. But I wasn't prepared to pay thousands of dollars to just like clean up the already very expensive website that I own. So I went in there and edited the copy and, got rid of some elements that were, having trouble with the outdated Elementor. And all that to say, don't fucking build your website on WordPress. It is a nightmare and a half, especially Elementor as well. Like all the plugins.
It's the updates. Like you really have to like do your research on whatever you're building on. How do they update? When do they update? Like,
and do they take care of it for you?
Right. Because like Kajabi, for instance, updates all the time. I've never had an issue with my website.
Yeah.
Like when it updates a theme that you're using, it just naturally happens. Now, this is something to be aware of, is that if you are buying a theme from someone else, or if you're buying something from someone else that's not the main platform that you're then going to put on your platform, you have to be aware that when the main platform updates, that may jank up your theme.
Oh.
So like you have to make sure that whoever, like for instance, Afton Nagria is someone who does like Kajabi sales page designs and whatnot, and she makes sure that that's not an issue.
Okay.
So you have to like make sure when you're buying something from someone, that if Kajabi doesn't update, it's not going to mess up the custom code in whatever template it is you just bought.
Got it. And if it doesn't, then you have to
go
reach back out to them and
go somewhere else.
I see.
Just like it's not worth your time and effort. Like you're doing this to save time, not to have one more thing to add on your list.
Amen.
Like this should be their responsibility. So yeah, and WordPress is just one of those. It's just my people who build their courses on WordPress.
Ugh.
Same thing.
Ugh. Terrible.
Same thing.
And I will also dump a little bit on Dubsado. Both of us are still users.
We are both using Dubsado.
There are totally other companies out there that are probably better, other softwares out there that are better. But like the ease of, and just the fact that we have all of our people in it already, It's basically, where all of my contracts live. And, it's the consolidated link that I can send a new customer to be like, sign this contract. And then it'll automatically prompt them to, invoice or whatever. And
it's the workflow.
It's just, yeah.
And the challenge, and honestly, if you're listening to this and you have a better tech solution, like please tell us.
Email at dogmomsdobusiness.com.
Yes. And
at
gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And the one feature is that we can have a workflow, like an onboarding, offboarding workflow that is general, and then we can customize it to send to an individual. Because like in Panda Dash, for example, you can do workflows, you just can't customize it for the individual. So it's like these kind of high ticket customized projects that yet still use a general workflow. Like that's what I can't. And Honeybook probably does it, but I feel like it's the same fucking service. It's just a different name. So
not a fan of
that.
And then I'll also say that I've used Voxer in the past. I know that some coaches prefer to keep their messaging separate from their texts. So sometimes they'll use WhatsApp, or I don't know what other things are out there other than WhatsApp. I don't know. WhatsApp and Voxer are the ones that are on my page of like, they just want to have some 1 degree of separation from their inbox and their texts. And so Voxer is an easy way to voice message back and forth. I don't know. I don't find it, I didn't go to it very often. It wasn't easy to check in on.
Yeah, I used it with a coach or a couple coaches, and I find like sometimes it would just be easier. Can we just talk for 15 minutes on the phone?
It's like either just get on the phone or send me a text. You know?
Now, the nice thing I have heard people in groups, it's good to hear coaching for other people because it helps, you learn about yourself. And so like that's if you're in a group Voxer.
But again, you can do that in Discord. Like I would send voice messages in Discord. My clients, in my Powerhouse program, we use Discord, and you can send voice messages back and forth.
And dude, sometimes I don't have it in me to like listen to a 5-minute voice message. So if it's not transcribed, it's just not good.
Which thank God for iPhone.
iPhone did that update.
Messages.
Wow.
I know. Game changer.
Wow.
All right, let's zoom through these last ones.
Okay.
So personal finance and bookkeeping. What do you love?
I use Tiller. It is a extension for a Google spreadsheet. Yes, I do all my personal bookkeeping in a Google spreadsheet because it is easy and it is what makes sense for me. And I'm considering moving to Copilot, which my brother recommends. But for now, it's giving me visibility and it's simple, and that's good enough.
Good.
Yep. And same thing with QuickBooks. Do not avoid Xero, Xero. Was in Xero, hated it, couldn't figure it out. Super clunky interface, yuck. QuickBooks, easy, simple, to the point, and everyone uses it, and everything integrates with it. So just like sometimes you just gotta let the category king reign.
It's really, really good. I love QuickBooks. I use it for all, but for Matt and I think between the two of us, we have like 4 or 5 LLCs, and all of them live on there. And it's just so much easier to send those to, and mark all the expenses and categorize everything and see your P&Ls and all that kind of stuff. It's just super, super easy and seamless, and everybody knows how to use it. So
Yay, QuickBooks. And then I also have Gusto on here. So if you're doing payment processing, this is really, really good if you have W-2s. Like I have W-2s in multiple states, in 3 states. So it's really good because they can take care of some of like I just onboarded someone in New York. So it was like the New York law, the New York requirements. I didn't really know it was required, but because that's really what they do, I just like paid $50 and they did it for me.
Yeah.
So really, really good for W-2s.
And if you have an S Corp that you just have an employee that you need to set on payroll and send the same amount every time, you can schedule it out. It takes out, removes taxes and Social Security, all that kind of stuff. And
it'll also do like 1099s, like contractors. But usually just ones in the States, because if they're abroad, then you're paying them a different way.
Right.
So it's an option if you want to pay your contractors through the same system as well.
Yep. And then last but not least, we had a podcast shout out. If you, listener, are interested in starting a podcast or you already have one, I'm sure you have heard of Libsyn, because it is the industry titan, I think, for managing statistics and stuff.
One of 2.
What's the other one?
It's fading. It's fade. I'll search it. Tell us about Libsyn.
But Libsyn is basically kind of the hub if you want to check in on downloads on your podcast. You want to see stats about, listening numbers within the first week, within the first day, within the first month, within any time period you want to set. it is really helpful for that. It also tells you your demographics, like where, gender, where they live, how many specific people from each region, all that kind of stuff. It's just very helpful for localizing all the kind of stats you want to know about the inside of your podcast.
Yep. And the big competitor there is Buzzsprout.
Oh,
Buzzsprout.
Okay.
Yeah. And we went with Libsyn because that's what our editor uses.
Yes.
And we were just like, okay. And then second podcasting recommendation is Podpage, which literally, if you go to our website, dogmomsdobusiness.com, you can leave us a rating and review. We would love that. Yeah. And also, it's like, took me 10 minutes to set up that website.
And basically the point of it is so that you can have a hub that connects you to anywhere you listen to podcasts. Because, the trouble is when you share a listening link, usually you're sharing it from within Apple Podcasts or in Spotify or whatever. So if you use instead the Podpage link, then it lets you go to that website and then you can click to whatever, thing that you want to listen to. Yeah. And you can review it through that site.
I'm starting to think we should have done this in like 3 episodes or something.
We definitely went deep here. But anything to wrap up with this, wet dream of a podcast episode for you?
I would just say, honestly, look at the holistic side of your business, the holistic piece of your business. Think about what does your business really need? And then also, what do you need to grow into? But don't make a decision based on what you need in 3 years. Don't pay for a software that's $500 if you can get away with a $50 podcast or a $50 software for the next 3 years. Like migration, everybody's always scared of migration. It's not that hard. Don't make it worse than it is. So get a holistic viewpoint, decide what you need now, keeping in mind what you're growing into, and then optimize the ones that are really going to be worth your time to optimize. And if you don't know what to get, just reach out to me and we can have a text.
Jasmine
discussion.
Would love it. If you can't see her on the video, by the way, we have our video episodes up live on YouTube. So please head over there and subscribe. Give us a view over there. You can see our beautiful shining faces on our teal couch. Jasmine is beaming, thinking about having a one-on-one call with you about your tech. And last but not least, don't build your website on WordPress. The end.
The end. And with that, listening. Have a great day.